Hey everyone, welcome to a little thing I used to do at Zelda Informer, but we're not talking about Zelda today. We're doing the Nintendo Prime Reacts. It's our very first ever reaction series. Generally, this only happens when there's been really, really big game-changing news or a big event like E3, or, in this case, a Nintendo Direct. And today, or at least when we're recording this, I don't know if it's actually going to come out today on YouTube. We will be talking about the ARMS Direct that happened. And I am joined by FiveJay Gaming.
Hey guys, I have a small intro myself here since we have separate audios being recorded. Oh no.
Yep.
No, we'll sync these up. Okay, logistics.
Okay.
Hi guys, FiveJay over on Twitch. Welcome. I stream on
Yep.
Nintendo Prime over the weekend.
Yes. And we were going to have our other video guy who does some stuff on YouTube, Mr. Daniel, on, but I had a power outage, and I'm pretty sure he fell asleep by the time my power came back. But anyways, we're here to talk to you guys about ARMS and our reaction to it and our thoughts, and a little bit of Splatoon.
Yeah.
So we both saw the Direct. I saw it as it was happening. I was getting my kids ready for bed, so it was a little hectic. But I've rewatched it a couple times since. What's your general opinion of ARMS at this point?
So, ARMS, it's been really hard for me to really get a great grasp on what ARMS really is, and they've been starting to flesh that out a little bit. I've been so lukewarm on the whole thing up until recently, and I've started to spark a little bit of interest, and I think that's kind of the same impression I had about Splatoon. So I now am a Splatoon fan, and I'm thinking they might get me when I least expect it here. So they're adding more modes that they're showing to us here, and they're adding more characters and more depth. And I'm starting to be intrigued, and I think I might get it on launch. Maybe.
Well,
What do you think?
It's one of those things that I think Splatoon, when they first announced it, it was instantly praised by basically the media who got to go a little hands-on with it. And it almost made sense, right? Like, okay, it's a territory shooter.
Right.
Got it. You know,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of these out there, especially a lot of popular ones, but it is something that people could wrap their heads around.
Yeah, it was kind of like Tony Hawk was at the graffiti mode or whatever kind of thing, you know, just trying to paint the town.
Yeah, I mean, it was a concept that was easily understood from the word go.
Right.
Now, it took some fleshing. You know, a lot of people were saying, oh, whatever. You know, it's one of those side games. It's going to be like that Steam game they created. There were people ended up not liking that on 3DS.
Oh, yeah. Codename Steam.
Yeah, Codename Steam. And the thing is, I love that game. I think that game is fantastic.
Yeah,
but
me too.
Again,
it's great.
It's a very niche game.
Yep.
So, whatever. And I guess the worry with Splatoon at the time was that, oh, it's too cartoony, it's too for kids. They're trying to aim this game at kids too much. And that's going to alienate Nintendo's core audience, which isn't kids, despite what people think. I think our channel is also kind of proof of that. Most of our audiences are not children.
Right, but
at least according to what Google tells me.
But they were, right? So
they were
originally
at one point, right?
we were a
it?
child grabbed by Nintendo, and we've just hung along for the whole ride.
Sure. So Splatoon kind of found its footing. The more and more we saw of it, the more, you know, it really was about E3. When they showed it off at E3, that's really when things kind of exploded and people started realizing, okay, no, this is just a really good game.
Yeah.
For all ages, not just kids.
Yeah.
And ARMS felt weird when they introduced it because, one, we thought we moved beyond motion gaming.
Oh, yes.
Outside of virtual reality. And here they are showing off what looks like an improved version of Wii Boxing.
Yeah, exactly.
And it really turned people off because, one, people are kind of over motion controls outside of virtual reality. And two, it just... there wasn't anything shown in the little bit that we got during the... I think it was in January? Or was it the January little... I don't know, event. It wasn't.
Yeah, it was like the big Switch unveiling event.
It just didn't look very appealing.
Agreed. Yeah.
And it didn't look bad. It was just one of those things where we didn't know enough about it, and it looked so simplistic. And when media got to play it at the various events, a lot of them were like, "Yeah, it played fine, but I mean, it was just okay."
Yeah.
Well, we don't. There wasn't much there.
Right.
and the fear was like, okay, it's going to be like the next Wii boxing, or like kind of like a new IP version of Punch Out, and it's just it's not going to be, it's not something to write home about, right? It's like a
Right.
second tier game. It's not a big AAA experience like Splatoon ended up becoming.
Yeah.
And if we hadn't learned, if you were on the fence about ARMS this whole time, if you're not sold by the end of this direct now, then you're never going to be sold on what this game is.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yes, you don't have to use motion controls to play, and they've actually detailed out how that works. We haven't seen anyone actually play it without motion controls yet.
Yeah, and I'm having trouble conceptualizing how you're going to be able to have as much control without motion as with motion.
Well, it sounds like what it's going to be is that you when you play it with like the Pro Controller or just a standard control setup, you're going to get rocked by anyone who's any good at the motion stuff.
Exactly, and that's kind of how Splatoon is too.
I mean, yeah, Splatoon, like you can do traditional twin stick aiming, but anyone who has mastered the gyro aiming, they're gonna wreck you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's okay because it kind of, it's two different demographics. Like people who are gonna get really good with the motion stuff, those are gonna be the guys that are gonna be like playing this game in tournaments and going to Evo and doing a lot of crazy things with this.
You really
game.
think this is gonna show up at Evo?
It almost got voted into Evo for this year, and the game's not even out yet.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yes, so it's probably gonna get into it next year.
Though to be fair, it is such a different kind of fighting game that Evo almost needs that kind of variety.
Well, and the big thing is, it's a fighting game.
Yeah.
And if you don't like fighting games, you're probably not gonna be into this. It doesn't have the appeal of like a Smash Bros. Where your favorite Nintendo characters get together and hash it out.
Right, here's Noodle.
This is a game that like you need to like fighting games to like this game.
Yeah.
But it's really cool because it's like a unique take on the fighting genre. Because in the past, a lot of it's just been you fight on a 2D plane and go at it. I mean, even Smash Bros. Is like that.
There's a few
in the games that have
but,
revolved around like a 3D plane, it was really still just a 2D plane rotating in 3D.
Yeah, that's fair. Yep. Pretty much.
There hasn't been a lot of games that have done a 3D type fighting game very well. I mean, I think I haven't played it yet, but I heard Pokken Tournament is kind of does it okay.
Oh yeah, I'd say that it's still mostly like a Soul Calibur like experience though.
Yeah, that's what I saw in the footage. I was like, it still felt more like it was just a 2D plane that rotated
totally
in a 3D world. Whereas this is like, no, this is a fully 3D like arena. You can walk around in, you can destroy things, you can jump on top of things, hide behind things. It's a fully interactive kind of environment.
Yeah, I haven't played Power Stone, but from what I'm seeing, that sounds like Power Stone would be pretty close equivalent to this style of fighting. So free and open.
Yeah, and that's the thing with this game is, one, it has a heavy focus. Like your attacks are all about the extendable arms and the various ways you can customize it.
Yep.
And the unique abilities that each one of the characters have and what they add to the items and the elements and just everything about this game, like what we learned today, it seems extremely hardcore to me.
Yeah.
Like this is the kind of stuff that gets into serious like fighting events like Evo because it is that intricate and that skill based.
Which is so strange because this Splatoon is the same way. If you're not taking it completely seriously, you're going to be sniped every 10 seconds by some guy half a mile away with an E-liter and you have no idea what's going on.
Well, and a fun fact, Nintendo's trying to push Splatoon 2 now as an esport, so...
They should. They really should. It has a very long following. It just keeps going and going.
And it's huge in Japan.
Yeah.
So, and again, these, for Splatoon 2 and ARMS, they are having, like, tournaments live streamed at E3, so, like, they're really pushing these games as, look, like, you could take these things seriously, and... not just have your goofy fun with your friends in your house. You can also be like, no, like let's make big tournaments out of this, and whatever. And we'll see if Nintendo ends up pushing it into some of the cash tournaments out there and stuff. But ARMS just I'm not a big fighting genre fan, so ARMS was always very like casual, intriguing to me. But I wasn't also a big shooting fan. Like I don't play a lot of shooters, and then I love Splatoon.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things where ARMS is intriguing enough that I'm probably going to end up picking it up day one, just because there's two things I like supporting in the video game industry. One,
Nintendo.
I like supporting extremely, extremely high quality games because I want them
Yeah.
to continue to exist. And two, I like supporting extremely high quality new IPs because
Yeah,
I think that's
fair.
wholly healthy for the industry. And a lot of consumers don't. You don't have to be like this. Like if you're not interested in ARMS, don't just buy it because it's a high quality AAA game from Nintendo. Like
Right.
I'm not fanboying out here. I do the same thing for PC games, for indie games, for Xbox and PlayStation. Like I'll go out and buy games that are high quality new IPs because I want the industry. I'm speaking to the industry with my wallet. I want them
Yeah,
to know
exactly.
we want these kind of games. And if people aren't buying them, then they're just not going to get those kind of games. Like it's the same reason I bought Watch Dogs, even though it was just okay,
Sure.
because I saw the potential for it to become something more. And then Watch Dogs 2 came out, and it kind of proved, yeah, it can be more.
And it's apparent how hard Nintendo's trying with Splatoon and with ARMS to really make a solid new IP. There is so much personality and character in these trailers. They had like a weird, funny intro to this direct where, everyone knows you have extendable arms, but nobody knows when they happened. Everyone just woke up and they suddenly had extendable arms. It's like, what? They're just adding such weirdness, in
Yeah,
that
the backstory
Japanese
is so
way.
funky.
Yeah, it's so weird. And the spring faces and people's made out of noodles, and now like some lady that's
Yeah, Spreadman,
like,
is his hair real? Well, no one thinks it is, but it doesn't really matter.
yeah, what's the deal? So wacky.
Yeah,
And somebody who looks like Ridley in the loader, but with stretchy arms. That's awesome.
And what I like about the game is it's really embracing what it is, right? It's not trying to like force like a lot of games that have this kind of attitude with it. They try to make it really forceful, and in this game it feels natural.
Yeah, totally.
From what we've seen so far, and it's one of those things that I don't know if this is going to get as big as Splatoon did. And maybe it will because the Switch is ultimately probably going to sell more than the Wii U did. So maybe it'll find a bigger consumer base than the first Splatoon.
Then okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. Then Splatoon as a series, I don't know about that, but yeah, I see what you mean. The original.
Well, yeah, like
Splatoon,
the original Splatoon sold over 4 million. So I mean that's still
impressive. Unlike what was it, 13 million that was sold total? It's incredible.
Yeah, it's like a third of the audience bought it.
Yeah.
So it I don't know if ARMS is going to get to a 4 million level, especially since it's releasing at a time when there isn't going to be a lot of Switches on the market. But
right.
it if nothing is clear from what we know about this game now, it is extremely high quality, very polished, packed with content, getting tons of support post-release completely for free.
I love that.
More than even Splatoon. Like when Splatoon got all of its post-release content for free, the problem, and this is a problem that I thought might happen with ARMS, but doesn't appear to be, is that Splatoon kind of launched like an unfinished game.
Yeah, it did kind of feel bare bones.
So they needed that content to come out for free. This game doesn't feel like it's launching unfinished. All of the modes it comes with, all of the weapons it already has, the 10 playable characters, that feels like a full game. And they're going to be releasing more characters and more items and more stages.
I'm probably more excited about the other modes they announced than just like the standard fighting. Like, I think it looks amazing that there's a basketball mode that you have to grab your friend and chuck him through a basket. That's genius.
It's crazy. Crazy. And then like a volleyball mode where you're hitting around a bomb.
That one looks really cool too. I have a feeling I'm going to play volleyball a lot in this game.
Well, that's the thing, and that's where ARMS is doing what Splatoon did, in that it's reaching out to appeal to such a wide variety of people, where it has its super seriousness to it. Like, it has its 1v1 ranked mode, and, its ability to do, like, kind of tournament-style stuff, and have 20 of your friends play, and, be able to do, like, serious tournaments like EVO, but it's got this silliness to it as well, that, like, oh, people could just goof around in volleyball mode, they can goof around in basketball mode.
Right.
There's a... I know some people said they're a little disappointed by it, but they have like this Grand Prix mode that's their single player.
Yeah.
And when I saw some people talk about how disappointed they were in the Grand Prix mode, I kind of sat back and I was like, this is a fighting game, right?
Yeah, I mean,
so
it
like
makes sense.
it's basically a multiplayer game. That the single player mode is always just a ladder. And this is a 10 fight ladder. I mean, I know some single player like Mortal Kombat and stuff, like they put story into it and all that stuff, but who cares?
Well, there could be story here.
And there could be story.
Oh,
It could be cutscenes. We don't. Who knows?
Right.
This game has a lot of personality. There's probably
Bark and
something.
Bite
in there.
could have a whole storyline, and we won't know until it comes out.
Yeah, but like this game's not going to be successful because of the single player. It's going to be
Exactly.
successful because of the multiplayer.
Yeah.
And I have to say, like, here I am, like, glowing about this game when I don't even like fighting games. Like, that's how impressed I am.
Yeah.
And the game's also technically impressive too.
Yeah,
Outside of the art
smooth.
style being gorgeous, the animations for a fighting game are just like at the top of the heap. And on
Seriously.
top of that, the game runs a silky smooth 60 FPS.
Is it locked?
It is locked.
Even in 4 players?
No. So
Okay.
the game is locked at 60 FPS with 1 player, 2 player, 3 player. When you get to 4, it drops everyone to 30.
Sure.
And that's on
Reasonable.
that's on a single system because it can support up to 4 players for a single system.
Oh, so what if you do 2-on-2 systems? And
That is totally fine.
Blah, blah, blah. Okay,
It'll
that'll
be
60?
locked 60.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good. to know.
At least that's what the Digital Foundry report said. Obviously, it might not. By the time the game comes out, maybe it won't be the case.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I feel like it's hard to
because
get
it's hard to
3
know. Like
friends in the
there's
same
like
room
no
in
one
a
really
way.
has review copies quite yet, so it's kind of like
Yeah.
I mean, some are doing previews, but it's kind of one of those. I don't know if anyone has enough experience yet, but I mean, it's pretty much locked 60, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I heard that it doesn't run at 1080; it runs at 900p and 720p in handheld, obviously.
There was
But-
stuff like that with Xbox One and PS4, and this probably still going on, and people stopped caring. You know?
What matters to me is that it's a fighting game, so you have that locked 60 FPS for the serious stuff, and then on top of that, apparently there might be some anti-aliasing in this game, which for most gamers
Not
that's
in a
not a
lot of
big
Wii U
deal, but
stuff.
for Nintendo doesn't anti-alias like ever.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
look at
Wii
Breath of the
was
Wild,
awesome.
look at Mario Kart. They don't do anti-aliasing, and yet it looks like they might have applied some anti-aliasing to this game.
That's- So is this made then by more of those younger developers like Splatoon? They keep
Yes.
emphasizing.
So this is
hey,
made
these
by
are
a
new
younger
ideas
team.
from new people.
It's technically the team that made Mario Kart 8.
Oh,
Made
okay.
ARMS. Now, I heard some people talking about the anti-alias. Like, oh my gosh! I'm like, well, you got to remember this is also the first major Nintendo game coming out that was made for Switch. Mario Kart 8
Yeah.
Deluxe was a port. Breath of the Wild was a
True.
port.
That's true, and those
So-
are both Wii U games. Wii U didn't have any
Yes.
anti-aliasing, so
Yeah.
fair
So,
point.
so it's one of those things that this might actually be a standard. Nintendo might be using anti-aliasing for Switch exclusive games. We'll find out with Splatoon 2 too. Once those
Yeah.
review copies get out there.
which that also looks really smooth and
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. So we knew at the end of this direct we were going to get Splatoon 2.
Yep.
A trailer. We didn't know what the trailer was of. They didn't let us know.
Yeah.
They just said it was going to be there. And man, does it look amazing. And this is, to be clear,
Totally.
they showed off what single player mode, I think they're calling it hero mode, is going to be.
Yeah, they had like some weird little teaser at the beginning where you followed around Mari, and she's
Yep.
like incognito, and then apparently she's what spurs on this particular campaign, and then they
Yeah,
showed
she's
you
like,
a bunch
oh, I'm
of
part of the
different
Squid Sisters. She does that thing, and like,
Yeah.
oh, you don't know who I am?
stuff. Yeah, don't know who I am. Flipping out.
Right? And man, it looks crazy.
So, what
See-
did you think of the one-player mode in the first Splatoon?
I thought it was really good, but really short.
Yeah, it felt like it was like an idea that they never fully fleshed out, and this looks like it's going to have a lot more variety for the kind of mechanics that you have to interact with to complete a level.
Yeah.
And it just looks more varied in general.
Well, I always viewed the single player in the first game as it's essentially teaching you how to play Splatoon.
Yeah.
And it's really short. The story's, whatever. The story wasn't that bad, but it was really short. But what made me forgive how short it was the final boss in Splatoon.
That was a great boss
That
fight.
I mean, that might be what, like, I'm even thinking about all the boss fights I had in Breath of the Wild. I don't think there's any that are better than what I faced in Splatoon at the end of the story mode.
It was pretty sweet.
That boss fight was awesome.
I mean, off topic, but I didn't really struggle all that much with any of the bosses in Breath of the Wild.
No, not
So
me either.
I can agree that that fight was challenging but intelligent in Splatoon.
Yes. And so I'm really curious how they're going to follow that up in Splatoon 2. But what I can say, based on the little trailer they showed, is that, man, it looks like I have taken the single player mode to a whole new level. It looks way more intense. It looks like there's way more variety in what the enemies are doing.
Yeah.
In level design, in platforming, and that's what's crazy. Like, we're talking about a game that is built as a multiplayer territory shooter.
Yeah.
And single player is very much being built as a platformer with shooting elements.
Yeah. Just an
And it's
insane
awesome.
like Mario Sunshine, like to the nth degree.
Yeah. It looked absolutely fantastic. And I'm not saying that people should buy Splatoon just to play single player, but I mean, we might find out it might be worth buying Splatoon just to play the single player on Splatoon 2. It just looked fantastic. And we obviously don't know the rewards. There's going to probably be continued support post-launch like they're doing for ARMS. And they did for the original Splatoon.
Yeah.
But it just looks fantastic. Overall, I got to say, I'm kind of glad they did this direct when they did. Because I know some people might feel like, oh, maybe they should have talked about this at E3, but we got to remember, ARMS basically comes out during E3.
Right. Yeah, and
I
they
think
have
it's
to
on
keep
the
us engaged all the while. They can't go 2-3 months without saying something new about the Switch. They got to keep something coming.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that, like, do you really want them to just talk about ARMS and Splatoon 2 at E3? Because those are two big games that would eat up half of their presentation, and that's... No.
Right.
And, like, we need to know what's...
afterwards they're both out, and then what? They didn't say anything about the rest of the year.
So, like, this is a very good timing for this direct. It lets them basically not have to talk about ARMS a ton during whatever their digital spotlight thing, Nintendo Spotlight. They shouldn't have to talk about ARMS much outside of, like, maybe a trailer and, hey, it comes out this week. And then, probably a new trailer for Splatoon 2. And they might not even put a trailer for Splatoon 2. They might even save those trailers for the live stream tournaments they're going to do for those games. So they're already giving those games individual attention so much that they might not even be in the spotlight.
I wanted to talk a little bit about
the spotlight can focus on other games. The Xenoblade Chronicles 2 that's supposed to be happening.
Kind of,
the
like,
Super Mario Odyssey.
Dipped into
whatever else
elements.
third-party games they might have coming. I know NBA 2K18 is confirmed.
I think about 3 or 4 elements
and
before.
If other games might be coming. We haven't heard. Is the Skyrim version coming? Is it the remastered version? Is it the old version?
Was it more? Might have
there's
been
a lot
8.
of things we don't know about what's happening with
really
Switch
interesting.
after
Some of the
Splatoon
elements
2
kind of seem like they do the same thing. But in general, I like that it's kind of... that's how they add variety to the weapons. It's like, hey, yeah, this is a 3-missile shooter, but now this one has a freezing element, and this one has like an exploding element, and they give you different boosts there. And it's just a fun way to mix up the combat a little bit and make it a little more insane, you know?
I love what they're doing with ARMS. It's...
You know what they didn't cover, actually, is the supers. They only did, like, a couple of supers in the previous trailers, but now there's 10 characters. We probably haven't seen 8 supers now. What do they do?
Yeah, no, I saw a few more of them because immediately after they put this direct up, they released a new Nintendo Minute.
Oh, I missed that.
And those two people, was it Krista and... I always forget the guy's name. Oh, man. Anyways, those two people... went at I think is I'm gonna look it up right after and be like, oh yeah, right. Those two people went at it and had like their own little mini infighting tournament, best 2 out of 3 matches or whatever, and they each played a new character every time, so we got to see 6 characters in action, I think.
Nice.
And all of them did their supers during the fight.
Awesome.
So you got to see what some of that was and they played some of the new characters, so you got to see some of that stuff. Like the ones they showed off during the direct. Like they showed off the one with the robot cop guy and dog.
Yeah, bark and bite.
Very like interesting character. Like, I don't know. Just a very very weird character. I guess it fits with ARMS.
He looks like he would really mess with your strategy.
Yeah, it's like, I'm kicking his butt, but his dog is behind me just punching away.
gets an interrupt in there, and then suddenly you're on the defensive.
Yeah. It just looks fun. And it looks like it's fun in a way that, like Splatoon was, where you could just have a lot of fun just playing the game, or you could take it super, super serious, and the game works for whatever you want it to be. And in a lot of ways... I kind of view these games as kind of the next evolution of what Smash Bros was. Like Nintendo had Smash Bros come out and it was super fun, super casual, but it could be super serious. And then they never really did anything with that besides Mario Kart. And let's be honest, Mario Kart, for as serious as people want to take it, it's mostly just silly.
Yeah, it's got that heavy rubber banding in there. I mean, there's no
and people don't like the rubber banding for the serious portion of thing, whereas in ARMS, there's no rubber banding. There's no tricks here. It's skill if you want it to be serious. And that's what's really cool. Like Splatoon caters to the casuals and the hardcore, and it looks like ARMS is going to be doing the same thing. And what I like about these kind of games is these almost feel like the Smash and Mario Kart, where you have one of these games per generation of hardware.
Yeah.
And I know some people, like, there was someone on our Facebook page actually that got mad that, oh, Splatoon 2 looks too much like Splatoon 1. I'm like, because it's Splatoon?
Yeah.
I'm like Mario Kart 8 looks like Mario Kart 7, looks like Mario Kart 6. What?
Yeah.
Like, these are just once a generation games. Like, they don't reinvent the wheel visually or gameplay wise. Like, honestly, you know what to expect.
I could see them putting out another ARMS on the Switch, just because it is a new franchise, and I feel like the Switch is going to have a nice long life. I could kind of foresee them doing like a new 3DS type thing, like, hey, it's the same system, but it has a better CPU, and now here's some exclusive games, and oh look, here's ARMS 2, kind of thing. Yeah,
no, I don't think they're going to do that, only because they're continuing support for ARMS for probably the next year or two. So that's going to increase the longevity of that game. So I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. It's also
coming out right at launch versus Splatoon, which came out, a couple, 2-3 years after launch.
I think a lot of it depends. A lot of it depends on a theoretical, is there going to be a hardware refresh?
Yeah, exactly.
Because if there isn't a hardware refresh, well, by 2020, the Switch might not look so hot anymore. I'm not just saying that to be whatever. I'm just saying that phones and tablets and everything are going to easily surpass it by then, basically.
Right, and for the large part.
And at that point, Nintendo either needs to decide they're going to continue with the Switch and do the new Nintendo Switch or whatever.
You better drop that new moniker. Come on.
I know. I think it's dumb, but whatever.
They love it in Japan, apparently. Anything.
That's what I'm saying. So if they call it the new Nintendo Switch, it'll probably sell anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
At least in Japan. And then the US will be like, what the heck? A new Nintendo Switch? You mean the one I just bought? No. The new Nintendo Switch.
Exactly. Goodness gracious. Come on, Nintendo.
Anyways, just to kind of summarize it up, I mean, what are your general feelings about this Direct? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it you need to see more?
I think this did the best job so far of telling us enough about ARMS to really see that it was more than just a wacky, extendable arm fighting game that it looked like. It wasn't just the Wii Boxing upgrade. You know what it actually kind of feels like to me is an evolution of Punch-Out, where it's a multiplayer take. You're not just fighting a computer player and you memorize the pattern, but you are facing wacky characters that have weird punches. And now you're one of the wacky characters with weird punches, and you have to find, all the weak spots. And some folks jump and some folks kick, and I think it's finally become something that I'm actually interested in. And previously, I was mildly curious at best. So I think that they did a great job of finally showing us enough to make this a game that people are going to want to buy.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this is, if you can't tell by my excitement for ARMS and Splatoon 2 at this point, this Direct was about as perfect as it can be for the type of game that ARMS is.
Yeah.
And as I said, if you're on the fence and you haven't seen the Direct, watch the Direct. You should know by the end of it if this is the game for you. Anyways, that's going to do it. I'm glad you guys. Thanks for tuning in to our first ever Nintendo Prime Reacts. If you like this video, you know what to do on YouTube. Give it that big thumbs up, or if you think we're idiots, you can give us a big thumbs down. Subscribe. Follow FiveJay Gaming over there on Twitch. Also Nintendo Prime on Twitch, and yeah. Oh yeah, you can follow me on Twitter too @NateJance. I don't really pub my Twitter very much. I should probably do more of that.
Yeah, it's a hard thing. We both are pretty busy folks, so we're doing this as much as we can in the time that we have. And the social media aspect, I feel, is the part that's the toughest to do, to really be consistent on. But it is crucial, so we're trying.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this Nintendo Prime Reacts. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.
Thanks for watching, folks. We'll catch you next time.